Hey everyone, welcome back to the LALAL.AI YouTube channel and another episode of our guest interview series. Today we're excited to be joined by Daryl, who is a lead editor at VML. He's an Adobe ambassador and an all-around creative powerhouse. I'm really excited to talk about him. I know that in a lot of these interviews, we've been talking with creatives in the music space, artists, producers, DJs. But this is kind of our first time talking to someone in the video editing space. So I'm excited to talk with him, learn about what he does, learn about how they're using AI and some stuff that they do, and also some kind of industry trends and some current ongoings there. But I always like to pass this off to the guest here because I feel like I don't do justice when it comes to knowing everything about what people do. But Daryl, if you could, I guess, just interview yourself, tell about what you do with VML, what that is, and yeah, let the people know who you are here.
Yeah, so my name's Daryl Yeoman. I'm the lead video editor for VML UK. So I'm based out of the London branch. I work within post-production, so I manage a team of five other editors. But I also do a bit more than that. So I kind of bring a lot of the editors together globally. So there's hubs all around the world with inside VML. VML is a huge advertising agency which sits inside WPP, and it's one of the largest creative companies in the world. So it's quite a big process to be a part of, a small cog in a huge machine, but everyone makes a difference. And I think as video editors, when we're all together, um, yeah, it's quite amazing what we can do and the tools and skills that we can share to each other. So I'd like to do that, hopefully, to anyone watching.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. I was checking out the VML website and some of the projects that you guys have worked on are just from some of the biggest brands in the world, which is crazy. So you said that you, I guess, are a lead video editor, and you also manage a team. So is your time spent more editing the videos or managing the team? Like, what's kind of the daily workflow that you have?
Yeah, so I'm on tools, as people
Okay.
would call it over here. I also like to call it getting my hands dirty on the keyboard. Um, yeah, so I'd probably say 90% of my day is on the tools. So I'm working in
Nice.
Premiere, After Effects, that kind of stuff. Maybe 10% of it is looking after the team, but it fluctuates. Like there's always going to be days where it's really busy and maybe I need to provide more help to everyone else, but everyone's pretty self-sufficient. It's a multidiscipline team. Everyone's kind of got their skills and strengths, and we have um, a very experienced lead post producer over here who kind of schedules our time because obviously, like you mentioned, we have a huge
Yeah.
range of it's quite eye-watering. So each day is different, every week is different, every month is different. And as an editor, I always struggled with working on stuff that was long form. Um, I love short form and not knowing what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So I feel like I'm in the perfect place for that, as are the people I work with.
Oh, that's awesome. I know what you mean about like how exciting it is to just I'm the exact same, like even with my music and projects I'm working on, just kind of always so eager to work on the next thing, right? I mean, like for me, making beats, like I have so many beats on my hard drive that I finish like, 50% of them and I'm like, okay, I just want to work on the next one, right? That's
Yeah.
always so exciting to me. But I was wondering because like I mean, I started out like, in music and then I kind of learned a little bit about like video editing. I'm sure, you are light years ahead of me, but I use Premiere Pro. I use After Effects and some of the Adobe products there. And it's definitely fun. Like I really love, video production. I try and learn like, some things about proper lighting in my studio. So even my videos about like my beats look good. But I was wondering like how did you get into video editing? Like what's the backstory there?
Yeah, it's quite a long one. But first off, I just want to say that editing is actually quite an easy art because there's it's quite easy to get to entry, right? Like there's so many tools, DaVinci, Premiere,
Hmm.
Final Cut. A lot of the tools aren't that expensive or are free in some cases, especially if you're a student. And it
Hmm.
doesn't really matter how inexperienced you are. A lot of the skill set is the same, right? Obviously, you get better with experience, but um, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
No, it's just like how did you get started, right? Like what's the
Yeah,
the
so how did I
backstory?
get started? Um, I think the first memory that I have I would receive a camcorder, like a really old mini DV one. I don't know, probably in the early noughties. And I just loved watching YouTube and its inception, and people would make Lego stop motion, and
You know
that,
what? I watched it the same
yeah.
exact things when YouTube was coming up. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people, at least of our generation, did that, and I wanted to imitate it at home. So that was what I started doing with friends, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed doing it. Took art and photography as an option at school, and then after that, we have college over here, which is between the ages of 16 and 18. Um, and I decided to do film and TV, so it becomes very specific at that point. But you were still kind of doing bits of video production alongside editing. It was like, end-to-end service. And my tutor at the end of the course said, I think you're quite a good editor. That's probably what you should do." So I went, "Okay, sure." And looked for an editing course at university and found there was only one, because it at the time, and I think even still, is not a huge known thing that you can do. Most people want to be DOPs or camera directors or
Yeah.
whatever else. Um, and yeah, the rest was history after that. I kind of fell into advertising. I'd never expected to be in it. It was something that I enjoyed doing. It was easier to get work, I think, at the time, especially at uni. Like, you can band together a couple of you. Someone might be better at camera. I was good at editing, and so it happened there was three of us that created our own little mini production company, um, and just kind of spoke to whoever we could to do little films for free or next to nothing to just get some experience, and it snowballed from there really. And I've kind of been all over the place, done bits of running, done assisting in like TV jobs, worked for like commissioning teams just to figure out what it was I wanted to
Yeah.
do within editing, because I didn't know, there's so many different paths, so many different areas you can work in.
I think that's awesome, and it's just crazy what you said about the Lego stop motion. Those are things that I like completely forgot about till right now. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I was, like starting to even just like, even before I was learning to make beats and kind of make music, YouTube was definitely like the source of that because I remember I was watching videos on, Lego stop motion, and then I think that kind of spiraled into someone being like, how to make music in minutes. But it's just like it's crazy how YouTube is like kind of I guess been such an amazing, resource for people who are
Yeah.
starting. Um,
I think the resources changed a bit. I don't know if
yeah.
kids of today would agree that YouTube is
It's
probably
interesting. I
TikTok
don't
now.
know. I kind of think about that too. Like I remember just like randomly stumbling across, and I could probably even like find the video that inspired me to make music. And it was this guy who like, he just had like a free window or like free, I think like Hypercam 2 or something. And he was recording a video and I was like, I need like it was like such this like, low production quality tutorial, but like I saw that and it changed my life obviously to being able to do music full time and stuff. It's crazy. And yeah, I think about like I don't know, is that like I still think, YouTube, you can look up anything. I had car issues last week. The first thing I do is turn to YouTube, like how
Yeah.
how do I fix this, right? It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I feel like kids today, like, I don't know, you got Chat GPT. Do you think that's like, these AI tools, is that kind
Yeah,
of
that's true.
this generation's Lego stop motion or stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've got firm belief in like the next generation that come up, or even the kids now that are, at secondary school or high school or across the pond. Um, Everything that they're seeing and being exposed to is going to lead to a whole new wave of creativity in the next
Yeah.
10, 15 years, because they're seeing stuff that we never would believe is possible. And it was the same 10, 15 years ago for us, the previous generation before that. It's quite a time, I think,
I
to be
think
alive,
so.
going through such a shift.
It's really interesting, right? Just I think that's like what's exciting about it. It's just like the how there's so many opportunities, right? And you can really learn like anything you want to. And I think, yeah, I mean, as soon as you find that spark that just
Mm.
stays with you, carries with you, right? You just keep doing
Yeah.
that. But no, I just think, yeah, once you mentioned Lego stop motion, I was like, that's crazy. Is stop motion like still a thing, or is that like is that stuck on YouTube in like
Yeah, I think it's
2006?
still a thing. We do sometimes see those kind of jobs at VML, but obviously the editors internally, we might not get to see that. Like we're such a huge organization, there's such a
Yeah.
vast work, and it's specialisms as well, right? We're not always a specialist for every single job, but um, yeah, I definitely think it's still a thing, probably not as much as it was then. But it was interesting because it was like people were making Lego stop motion to music videos, and it was like conveying the
Nice.
story in a totally different way than you would have imagined before, or replicating the same thing but just in Lego. And it was just an
Yeah.
amazing to see it interpreted through a different lens.
No, I like that. Yeah, and I think that was like one of the biggest appeal is just like because anyone could really figure out how to do that, right? Like you didn't even need like the fanciest lighting or even
Mm.
like I remember making stop motion videos in I think Windows Movie Maker, just the free
Yeah,
version.
that's
I just
yeah,
had a little like, a little camera and I had like, 200 photos and I would have to like edit every one. So it would be like
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
I totally forgot all about that until right now. That just takes me
yeah.
back. That's
And after that, you migrate to Sony Vegas. I think it was like Sony Vegas 8.0A I remember working in.
yeah.
Um, and I never at the time didn't understand alpha layers. I remember it totally screwed with me and had to get like PNG working. And even obviously today I totally understand it. But just looking back, I'm like, how did I not get that? But the tools were not available to tell you how to do it. And I
Yeah,
think it's still in their infancy. So you either knew or you didn't. And it was kind of you'd fumble your way through and be like, oh yeah,
exactly.
that works.
I think that's part of the process too, right? Like getting started and I remember, like even some of the social media videos that I make for my own like beats, like I remember like a video that I would make a 30-second TikTok or whatever used to take me like an entire day to like make. And now it's like I can do it in like, a couple years later, I can do it in like
Yeah.
half an hour, right? So it's
Yeah.
just
Something like that.
no, that just like that takes me back. But I wanted to talk about a few things that you kind of mentioned to me, and this is something that I wasn't, I guess, totally aware of, but it is kind of an interesting conversation on being in-house versus freelance. And I'm kind of interested in this, and definitely like, your perspective with all that you do. But what does like in-house mean to you as a video editor or part of this big, team here?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think in-house traditionally and even still has a bit of a dirty word, you know. A lot of people think, why would I want to do that? Um, and there's lots of reasons why you should and shouldn't do it, and it doesn't work for everyone. Um, but I think there's something quite magical, I think, about being in-house. You get to work with the same people, especially
Mm.
as editors. Like we're often quite a lonely bunch. We like our
Yeah.
dark rooms,
Yeah.
quite light, and there is a window and ventilation. Um, but we learn so much more when we're connected, and we're super lucky here that there is five of us, and we do actually sit out on the shop floor. This is an edit suite that we come in to, just for reviews. And originally we were really worried about that because we came from kind of our own individual rooms previously. But we've actually become way more creative since sitting with everyone else. Obviously, we have headphones, noise cancelling to stop all of the noise, but we talk more, we share tools more, share ideas more. We call each other over quite often to have a look at each other's edits to see, how can we improve this? How can we improve that? And I think um, being in-house doesn't make you any less creative, the same way being freelance doesn't either. Like there's definitely fors and against for both. Like being freelance, we work with a lot of freelancers that are very specialist editors in what they do. It could be documentary, more music-based stuff or sound design. It could be editors that are better at sound design. And we kind of, each job is picked based on skill set, whether you're in-house or not. Obviously, there is a preference here to use in-house, and that is not just a financial perspective because it's cheaper to use someone in-house, but it's also about control. Like you're in the room with the creatives all the
Mm.
time. They haven't got to make phone calls or go to Soho because we're in London, right? They haven't got to make the extra trip, which used to be a nice thing to do, right? Because you get tea and coffee and all that stuff. And again, it's a specialism. There's still benefits to outsourcing post, but you get a lot of good things from keeping it internally as well. Like the team grows. Um, the creatives are with you, like I said, and also building a back catalogue of your work.
Mm.
Like we used to often be sent hard drives from the post houses that we've worked with, and it's stuff that our editors hadn't necessarily worked on. And we're now building like a huge catalogue. We've got over 600 terabytes worth of data from the past like 7 years, and it's
Jeez.
growing. But yeah, grows by about 50 to 100 terabytes a month at the moment because we're just kind of we're bringing everything back. We're putting it all in these collective servers so that if we want to do semantic search, we can find stuff, and
Mm.
it's opening up whole new creative areas that we never would have expected before to see. Whereas obviously if you rely solely on freelancers and you don't have any kind of in-house facility, you lose out on all of those new technological leaps. So yeah, that's kind of my standpoint, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think like to me, like some of the biggest things that kind of stood out with that conversation, that topic. I love the what you said about the collaboration aspect, right? Bringing in other people's, opinions, right? Because I relate to that like so much in even what I do like with making beats and the music that I do. It's like sometimes I don't see a different perspective until I have someone who is either another musician, maybe it's an artist using my beats, or just someone else like from yeah, they don't even have to be like their specialty is music, but I think having those different opinions and perspectives and somebody's expertise, like that's how you can make things, I think, just better and better, right? Because you might be making something, you could be like, okay, this is the best, I understand this is it, and then someone might come up and be like, I don't understand what that is, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about
Yeah,
that, right? Like I know for
yeah.
me, like with even like selling my beats online. I remember a couple years back, I had some buddies of mine who know nothing about like, buying music or selling music, but they know a lot about digital marketing. I asked them to like critique my website, and they were like, "I don't understand these words. I don't understand what I'm doing." And I was like, "Okay, now it has me kind of thinking differently, right?" And yeah, so I think that is really yeah, a really good thing that I think is very truthful, is just having that collaboration and that expertise. I
Mm,
like. And I think also what you said about like these having the catalog, all those resources. I feel like compared to somebody doing freelance, all of a sudden if you're with a team, obviously your work is multiplied, right? If you're a team with five, your output is five times, like potentially five times of someone doing um just freelance, right? I wanted to ask you, you had a recent video conference, right? An online video conference. I didn't know if you wanted to share anything about that and what it was and kind of what you learned from that.
yeah, yeah, sure. So it was an internal conference. So quite a lot of people in advertising might be familiar with town halls. I
Mm.
know probably other companies do that as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we kind of formulated our own one that was invite only just for the editors. It was all done kind of under the radar, very top secret. It's not available to the public to watch, unfortunately. And it was basically 5 locations that we'd selected here in London to showcase some of their video editing work, bit of a meet the team inside it as well, and just kind of get under the skin of what other skills we have. Because I know, and obviously you know as well, being freelance,
Yeah.
it can be on your own sometimes, right? And there's people in-house that are on their own around the world. There might only be one editor in Manila, there might only be 2 editors in Barcelona, and they're not necessarily aware of how many other editors there are globally. And I don't think we all knew. And now we're kind of all in one group together. We've got a global chat that we talk on a regular basis, like a daily
Nice.
basis, with people in Dubai and people
Wow.
in Latin America. And it's the best thing that has
Yeah.
happened probably in the last 6 months, because if you've got a problem with a bug or whatever else, or an idea, you've seen something. Oh, okay, I know Emma did this in Copenhagen, and you can reach out to her because
Awesome.
maybe you don't have that person in your team. So it's kind of really opened up a huge world of possibility for us. And hopefully in the future, we'll be doing a lot more sharing work internally. So like if we do need help
Yeah.
on a specific asset and we don't have the skills in London, we can utilize Dubai and Dubai could utilize Australia. And yeah, it connects us a lot more. Again, like editors are like super introverted or can be.
Yeah.
But we still crave connection, right? The whole point of our job is connection because we want people to connect with the stories that we tell. So this enables us to have that connection if we don't physically have it in our office.
I think that is, dude, I'm like so impressed and absolutely love that. I mean, I think it makes so much sense. I know what you mean about how like, being editors, right? A lot of time you got your headphones on, you're staring at a timeline trying to make these cuts for, 8 hours a day, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
becomes very like, secluded. I I think that is it's so powerful, like you said, to bounce information, to have those resources. I remember like when I got into making beats and, posting my stuff online, this was like probably around 12, 15 years ago. The kind of mindset for music producers, which I think is, kind of the same as video editors, right? Where, you know, working alone all day. We got our headphones on. We're not staring at a video timeline, but we're staring at a music timeline. And the kind of mindset like 10 plus years ago from producers was people didn't want to share anything that they learned. So like I
mm,
remember, people would post their beats on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and someone would comment like, "Hey, where did you get that piano sound?" Or like, "What, how do you make those chords?" And people wouldn't give any information. Like it was like the unwritten rule that just you want to keep everything to yourself.
yeah,
And I think things have definitely changed a lot. Like I think in a lot of industries, but I know just from personal experience, like the music production industry has changed where like I think that you have these people now who are like, why am I gatekeeping all these secrets, right? Like,
yeah,
why don't I, share information? And there's like a lot of, creators who have started getting into this, whole thing from making beats. And then now their whole thing is like, oh, I just want to help people learn more and more and more. And now
yeah,
they're, their stuff that they do is just sharing like, here's how to make, chords or here's how to make, melodies or stuff, right? And it's, people really like that. So that's just one thing that like, me doing what I do for, over a decade now, it's like seeing that difference. I'm like, man, I wish I had like those resources when I was
yeah,
starting, right? At least something like, because it is like, yeah, it's kind of a lonely industry at times, right? To have those people to bounce off and learn of, and yeah, I just remember like people were so scared of like people stealing your ideas, right? And it's such like
yeah,
a silly thing to think of now, right? Because it's like, I don't know, it's like, yeah, everyone can learn how to make the same chords or whatever, but how I package it, how I put melodies on top of those, like that's going to be different, right? So, but yeah, it used to be such a thing. Like you couldn't tell anyone what you were doing. It was crazy.
yeah. Well, it's funny because like knowledge sharing is I think definitely accelerated even in what we do.
Yeah,
Um, and especially now that we all sit on the shop floor together,
yeah,
uh, there's even more of a reason for us to yeah, share everything that we're doing if we found useful. And we do the same with freelance as well, right? So when they come in, they don't just sit in their own space. They sit with us. They use the edit suite. They work on exactly the same system that we work on, and we try and give them as much information as possible, so they've got just as much of a head start as we have. And obviously, we have the same freelancers coming in again and again as well. So everyone's on a level playing field because you're never the smartest person in the room. There's always someone
totally.
smart,
Yeah,
you know.
always. No, I think that makes that so much sense. I wanted to kind of pivot the conversation here, and this is what we always kind of do with the interviews here, but I wanted to kind of pivot the conversation and talk about AI, and what you do. I'm interested in hearing your perspective with the industry
Yeah.
you're in. Obviously, this is like the biggest, buzzword going on right now, but I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
like, your thoughts on AI. Are you for it? Are you against it? With the industry you're in or as a whole, like, what's your current, position on AI?
Yeah, I mean, most people have a similar opinion. I think I've not seen many people fully against it. I think there's some industries that should be fully against it and probably are. Like voice is quite concerning. Voiceover artists, like
Yeah.
how good that could get. That is concerning.
Hmm.
Uh, But at least within editing for now, I feel quite safe. There is something super nice that Emma, who's the lead editor in Copenhagen, said on our conference call, and that was that every editor has like their own spices and
Mm,
flavors of their
exactly.
childhood.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we watched the Lego. We That was what we did when we were kids, and that was how I got into the industry. And all of those different memories and experiences that I have make me unique and make everyone unique, right? And all AI can do in terms of, video generation and edit generation, if it comes to that, is replicate things that have already been done.
Mm,
It's lived
yeah.
experiences, right? It's not going to see something that I've just seen today
Yeah.
and thought that I can create. So I think the AI conversation needs to move away from replacing of jobs, and it's about elevation of jobs. Um, like historically, there is always that boom and bust where jobs change, but usually more work follows.
Mm,
Just the roles change slightly. And I think AI, at least in editing, is here to benefit us. There's a lot of tools that are not replacing us and are working with us. La is one perfect example, and like generative extend in um, Adobe in Premiere, that's not going to replace a job.
yeah.
That massively helps us and can open up more avenues for next time, I think. So I'm definitely I'm optimistic about it,
Yeah.
you know.
I say the same way. Like I love what you said about like you still will have, your spices, your perspective, your, characteristics that you'll put onto everything you do. Which I always think about that for myself and my beats too. And I love what you said about just like how AI is only capable of doing what it's already learned previously, right? I think that's really important. I always like think about like, I know there's a lot of music tools right now that can generate a whole entire song for you, right? And the way I always think about it's like, okay, well, these tools, they're basically just working like with predetermined parameters, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
if you tell me, to make a song with four chords, there's probably 10 billion other songs already that have that, right? So it's like,
yeah,
there's these kind of like like defined like things that I think people, at least I hope, like with my music, like they pick up on and they hear like, hey, this is a beat made by me, or like they see a story or a video edited by yourself and they're like, okay, there's some human element there, right, that I think AI just fully can't yeah, like it can't catch up to because it's just working with parameters. And I think even going back to the like conversation about working in-house, I think like even though like are these tools out here, like I know even with like, music production and like you can go to a website, be like, make me a 3 minute beat. I think like a lot of artists that I work with, they want someone along with them. They want someone to be
yeah,
like, okay, I have this idea. I don't know how to translate it into words or even in an AI prompt. And it's like, what if they, get a decent sounding AI generated beat, but maybe they're like, oh, this one 30-second spot sounds off, right? So I think that is like still important to have that
mm,
that human there who knows the lingo
yeah.
of video editing or music production, right, to kind of help people do that. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely go back and forth with all of my things on it, but I think like what you said is great, just how it you
It's
know
connection as well. Like you just said, you
yeah.
want to see someone, right? And if we're all sitting in a room just creating AI content for AI, it's I think that would be quite a sad existence because what's the
Yeah,
point, right?
it's like who's gonna be enjoying this if
Yeah,
everything online just becomes to a point where everything is robots and computers. It's like
yeah,
this isn't even like a thing anymore, right? I think about that even with like social media, right? If there's like all these AI accounts interacting with AI content,
yeah, yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah,
advertising agencies, they want to advertise on Instagram or YouTube or whatever to get real people to see it to buy their products. So
yeah,
if I'm advertising to a bunch of robots, like it's not it's not gonna lead to
yeah,
anything, right?
yeah.
So
No, 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 you're
nah.
totally right.
So I know that you mentioned like using LALAL.AI for video editing, and we actually had a blog post from I think a previous interview with yourself and kind of the stuff you did, and I will link that in the description. But how do you guys use LALAL.AI in the workflow that you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So we use it all the time. It's a formidable tool. and everyone that we share it with loves it internally. But yeah, we use it to strip out dialogue and to strip out music. So there's quite a few different use cases for us. A really easy one to understand is archival content.
Okay.
So like under GDPR or depending on what your agency or company's like data retention policy is, you might only have or be allowed to keep something for 5 years, right, or 7 years. And if a client comes back to you with a question about a job from 15 years ago, like they want to recycle that because they want to be sustainable and try and reuse
Yeah.
assets from something old.
Yeah.
How do you do that when you don't have the working files, right? And La 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 has um, opened that back up for us because rather than sitting there in audition and trying to magic erase
Oh yeah,
voice and not
phase out the,
working,
the different. It takes so
yeah,
long to do.
it takes so long, and this is instant, and it opens up a whole world of possibility where before, again, like all of that old content, you wouldn't be able to use. You can now
Hmm.
use it. So there's new, different ways of being creative spawned just from that, and ad agencies for like mood films with pitches, when you're trying to pitch for client work, you often use stuff from a variety of different sources, and maybe you want to keep some dialogue, and maybe you want the music from this film or this part, and again, it enables you to do that. So you've got so much creative intuition from using it, and it's literally a click of a button. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's what I think like the best AI tools do. It's like they just let me be more creative, right? I
Yeah,
don't want everything to do to work for me. And I know like yeah, I could go and do the magic erase tool and kind of phase out the audio. And I remember like doing that like 10 years ago and I'd have to download like 20 different programs and it would
yeah,
like it basically like a virus I'm downloading and I'd spend the
yeah,
whole day on it and it wouldn't even sound good in the end. So yeah, just stuff that like that like just lets me be more creative, helps me get from point A to point B quicker. That's what I
yeah,
really love. But I
yeah.
think like, with these kind of, tools and obviously AI, introduction and stuff, where do you think the future of video editing is going? Like, what do you see these next few years looking like?
Yeah, I guess I see some of the process being automated. So obviously, like with LALAL.AI, right? That's a process that can be easily automated, and
Yeah.
it's not erasing a job. I wouldn't say it's opening up more avenues. It's elevating, allowing you to be more creative, and I think there's quite a few tools like that we need more of, right? So like um, generative extend stuff at concept phases where you
Mm.
would not usually get that much time and you're freed up to do more of that. And even on the data side as well, with things like Name Mangler, we use that here. As I said, we have a ridiculous amount of data
Yeah.
stored in the cloud. And if one person downloads something with an emoji in it or saves it with an illegal character, all hell breaks
Oh,
loose, right?
yeah.
This program
I've heard
will
of that
search.
before. I've heard where people
Yeah,
break like or they break like their whole bank's like system because they would
yeah,
like name their account like an emoji, like a dollar sign
yeah.
emoji, and it'd just be like, oh, the whole
Exactly.
thing just explodes.
And you can't police that. So like that
Yeah.
software checks entire volumes for illegal characters or whatever character you can't allow on your cloud-based bucket or
Yeah.
what bucket you're using, and will remove it. Like that literally could have taken weeks to have found
Oh
whatever.
yeah. Yeah.
And now it's almost instantaneous again. So a video editor would have sat there and done that, especially if you're in-house. Again, like your skills are quite wide. It's not linear. You're doing everything and above editing. You're
Yeah.
doing voiceover recordings if you need to.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, it
you
frees
don't want to
up some
spend your
time.
time looking through an entire database for,
Yeah,
one emoji when you could rather spend that time editing a video, right? Doing something that
yeah,
you really enjoy.
yeah, exactly. And timelines have gotten tighter
Mm.
across the industry as a whole, I think. So all of these automation tools will massively help us be more creative and also speed us up when time is super pressured.
Yeah. No, I love that. I agree with everything you said. It's definitely interesting how it'll go, but I think just the main thing is like, yeah, that people always want to be creative. They want to add their own spark. And yeah, I mean, there's tools that let you be more creative, which I think is
Yeah,
really good.
it's
But
a co-pilot, right? It's
yeah,
here to help on the journey, not entirely replace you.
yeah. No, I think that is amazing. But this has been an amazing conversation there. I really appreciate you, for coming on and sharing all this information. It's really insightful, and I think you have some really good things that you mentioned. But I'm just wondering, like, if anyone wants to hear more about, or learn more about you, what you do, I'll link that blog post that we had with you in the description. But if there's anything else that you want to mention where people can, find about you, please let us know.
Yeah, I've got a website which I can give you the link to. It's just got some of my favorite work on it that I've worked on over
Okay,
the years.
awesome.
Uh, But I'd like to finish off with one last thing is
Yeah.
if you are looking to enter the industry and obviously things are on a dip at the moment and it's tough, just be persistent because great
Mm.
talent always survives. And there's always a way, even if it's working with your mates or whatever, you will eventually get there. It is tough, it is hard, but it's so rewarding when you do get to do what you want to do. And there's so many different routes. Hopefully you'll talk to more video editors and they'll disagree with what I've
Yeah,
said.
this is
You should do
really
it like
interesting.
this
Yeah.
because it's just my opinion, right? That's how I've landed where I am. But there's so many different ways that you can make it work for yourself.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's a perfect point to end it on. Thank you so much for taking the time here to chat, inspiring all of us, giving us a lot of good information. We really appreciate you being on here.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Tim.